Hi everybody, I am continuing my series of showing you everything that I have hoarded in my years as an artist and planner aficionado in anticipation of or preparation for my No Buy 2023, which I am already in, but I wanted to kind of have a starting point of all the shit I already have so that I can look back and see how much I've used up, as well as being held accountable so that you know what I have. So if I'm using something else, like Cindy question mark. Now, of course, I could have missed some stuff, and I actually did, and I'm going to show that in a second. But today's video will be focused on markers specifically. Now, two things up front. I did miss a couple of things when I filmed my pens video. When you're seeing this, I don't remember what video. It's the last video that was up, I think, or potentially one of the last videos that was up, but I filmed it yesterday when I'm filming this now, and I found these when I was pulling the markers out, so I'll show you those just for the sake of transparency. But also, I've got some alcohol markers and some other things. I'm going to include those in the art supplies, which will be the next collection video. So in that case, just anyway, I'm all over the place. Let me show you the things I missed. And I even mentioned them in the video. I remember mentioning these pens in the video. So what these are the Micron PN, which is like the flexible tip, Micron brush markers, and a few Micron. These are all Micron markers that have that are color. They're not black. And so I had meant to bring these up when I talked about all my color fine liners and markers, color fine liners and pens, but I missed out on them. So I just wanted to show these. I very rarely use these. Hopefully that'll change this year. But so these would technically be, I would consider these part of my pen collection because I considered everything else kind of in this category as pens. The other thing I missed was this little pen bag, which used to be the bag I would take with me to planner meetups. And this bag was smushed in the back of one of my drawers. And so I totally missed it, which is funny because there's pens in here I would have been very happy to pull out. So this is just I haven't even gone through this since I moved, I don't think. I don't think I have looked at this since I moved. So some of these are actually markers, but I have no idea if they all work. I don't really have anything out over here to test it. So I'm gonna put this on my desk. There's an ibuprofen in here as well. I'm gonna just put this on my desk and I'm going to make it a commitment to go through this later. But if you look at this assortment here, we have a uni pen, oil-based pen. We've got some of these Kuretake Zig brush pens of different sizes, a couple random Tombows, a couple of these Coco Eero pens, which I really used to love and I had totally forgotten about, and now I just realized I have 3 of them here, so I would love to revisit these. Some pencils, Zig Mangaka, fine liners, some jelly rolls. It's just a whole random, this beautiful pen right here. This is so pretty. I think it's a ballpoint. Yeah, it's a ballpoint. Anyway, I just wanted to show these as like this is what happens when you hoard the shit out of stuff. So I'm going to set this to the side and keep this on my desk or somewhere close so I can go through it, throw away anything that is dried out since it has been a long time, and then rehome everything that's in there and just keep the pen bag so that I have it for when I want to use it, because I love that little pen bag. That was actually a gift from my friend Jody years and years ago. And there was one more thing that I missed. These pens can kind of fall in the realm of pens and markers, but this is a pile of pens I got from Jet Pen kind of as a panic buy at the end of the year. A lot of these I bought specifically because I was looking to try out some different oil-based markers, and also some of these are pens that allegedly could work better on the Tombow River paper. So this is just a pile of pens that I'm kind of in the process of experimenting with. But the Sarasa Mark-On, some more uni pin pens, some pilot markers. So these pens will definitely be making appearances as I test them. But again, they were something that probably should have been counted in the video about pens as opposed to markers. All right, now that I've talked about those, let's start going through markers. To start with, here is my jug that's on my desk. What is currently in here markers-wise are my Moxie markers, which I use these are all the markers I'm using currently in my planners. So we have my Moxie markers, which I'm using for goal planning. I have this cream colored mild liner, which I'm currently using in one of my planners as well. Then we have all of the Zig dot pens that I'm currently using in my planners. And finally, I have a handful of these Aloha Stir highlighters that I am also currently using in my work planner, as well as this particular Tombow. So these are just all the ones that are living in this bucket on my desk. And then also at my desk, I have these bins, which I keep in my drawers next to my desk because I use these often, or I just don't want to lose them in the case of these. So these are paint pens, but these are very specifically paint pens that are black, white, gold, and silver. For like, and these are the small tips used. There's a couple of chalk markers here for my acrylic boards, but then also most of them are just white and black pens that I can use like in my bullet journal or whatever. So these I keep in the drawer. And then these two are all of my Zig clean color dot markers with the exception of the metallic ones and all of my zebra mild liners. There's one spare in here, one spare gray, because I know I'm running on the end of my platinum one, and I had bought this one before. But other than that, these are all of the mild, like my currently in use dot pens and mild liners. The other bucket that I keep hiding out in my drawers is this one, and it has dry erase markers, again, for the acrylic boards that I have behind me. And this is one of those things where I need to remember where they are because I had bought I found another pack that was unopened because I thought I didn't have any, and then I found them. So obviously I have too much shit because I can't find all of it. I'm surrounded currently by stuff. Let's just start easy, and we'll go for my Sharpies. I love Sharpies, if you did not know that. I'm a longtime Sharpie lover. I mean, there's a few like mark-on pens and shit mixed in here. Hey, look, some ballpoint pens as well. But I love these for lettering and all sorts of different things. I used to have an entire massive drawer in my old office where it was all Sharpies, but I have whittled it down some, and I'm continuing to whittle it down as I use other markers. But Sharpie markers, especially black ones, especially these extra fine ones, which are hard to find, and so I still have a bunch from when people sent them to me. These are just the markers I love the most. These are almost all extra fine in this one, and then this is a mixture of the standard Sharpies and the big chonky Sharpies, and even the biggest chonky of the chonks. So, yeah, hella Sharpies, have no need to buy permanent markers, like ever again. And I guess we'll go with highlighters next because they're close by to me, highlighters and dot pens. So this bin is actually my metallic Zig dot pens, as well as a bunch of the dupes that I have tried from like Ohuhu and Shuttle Art. I have them in here again for like duping purposes, or in case an artist loft, in case I need to use them when I run out of dot pens this year. Even though I love the Zig ones the most, I have all of these, so I need to use these up before I buy more this year, and I won't use them up. I tell you right now. So this is basically, if you watch my dupe videos on dot markers, they're all in here, which I kept for doing other dupe videos, but then I decided to move the metallic markers over here as well because I very rarely use these, and I wanted to clear up what's in the desk drawers next to me a little bit so I wasn't like having to hunt through them. So when it comes to mild liners, I have this. Now, when I went to Go Wild last year, I sat at the zebra table, and they had their whole collection of these zebra. It's the mild liners and the brush markers. And this isn't the entire collection. They've had new ones come out since then. But I gave away a lot of the swag that I got at that table in my Vlogmas giveaways. But the reason I kept these was so that I would have the backups. And if you see missing ones in here, it's because I've already used them as backups. So I'm just hanging on to this. But this, again, like along with everything else, really just makes it obvious that I don't need to buy any fucking highlighters for the rest of my life. But if you needed more evidence of that, you're welcome. And again, part of the reason I've kept a lot of these is because I want them for comparison's sake when other things come out, but also because I'm kind of a hoarder. These are all highlighters I have reviewed in the past. And some of them, even looking at this, I know I want to bust out to use in my work planner at some point, like these iconic, what are they? The iconic double-ended highlighters. These ones are really pretty, and the thing I like about them is that the chisel tip is like half the size of a standard highlighter. So if you're using something with like very small grid, like the Sterling Ink Planner, these could be a great option. So I'm going to separate these out and put them on top so I see them easier. But what else do we have in here? The brush zebra mild liners from when I tested those out. This before, again, I got that big pack from from the zebra table. I've got the passion markers, which I liked the concept of. They also have a smaller chisel tip, but I did not care for the writing tip as much because it was really hard to see. There's a dot marker that made its way over here. We've also got some of the Sharpie S Notes. I know they've come out with more colors, but I just cannot bring myself to buy more highlighters, even for a review. Like, if you want me to review highlighters this year, part of me is, unless it's like new colors of the mild liners or something, part of me is going to probably be like, how about we don't? Because this is a lot of fucking highlighters. We've also got some of the Staedtler Tripless Text Surfers, which were interesting because they're basically like a marker tip, but they're like soft highlighter colors. And so those are an interesting one, especially if you're working in like a textbook or something. Speaking of textbooks, the other thing I want to make a note of is that the one highlighter I will not be talking about in today's video are my the like crayon stick highlighter types highlighters, the gel highlighters, because I'm going to consider those, I consider those as part of my art supplies. I don't consider those as highlighters. I know that they are highlighters, especially if you work on paper like Bible paper, but for me, I very much consider those art supplies because that's how I use them. And once again, as it has happened with all of these other videos as I film them, is that I have found myself wanting to revisit certain products as I'm going through all of this, and definitely these iconic double-ended highlighters are something I would like to revisit, especially in my work planner. So I'm going to put them on top so I don't forget about them. These are some chonky highlighters. Chonkies. So it's basically Staedtler, the text surfers that are like chisel tipped rather than the pen tipped ones. And they've got some different colors, including a black one, which is very interesting. The other chonkies that we have in this pile are the Faber-Castell text liners, which I liked okay. They're I think these ones are the ones that are super juicy. These ones also have metal or metallic, like shiny. They've got silver, rose, ruby, and gold for the Faber-Castell. So those are fun. Then we have this set of the Stabilo highlighters, which I really like these. But they are pretty, but they also, I would not say, are the most comfortable to use because of their size. And then finally, this is my kind of like last pile of highlighters, and this is sort of miscellaneous highlighters that don't fall into the same like kind of paler categories, or they're just different. So like there's these Sharpie highlighters, which are liquid highlighters, and these are different than the Sharpie S Notes, which function much more like a mild liner. These ones bleed like a motherfucker. The colors are so vibrant and pretty, but holy shit, they bleed. And so I have them mostly, again, for comparison's sake. Then I've got the Crayola erasable highlighters. These are the Take Note highlighters, and they do erase, and the colors are pretty, and they're actually fairly inexpensive if you can find them. We've got the Tombow Mono Edge highlighters, which are just basic bright highlighter colors. But the cool thing about these guys is that the chisel is extremely stiff, so it's very easy to use as like a skinny or a thick chisel tip, as well as like an actual writing bullet tip. So, and they're not pale. These are very, very bright. And then I've got some more liquid flare or liquid highlighters, and then these are friction, also erasable highlighters. That's all my highlighters. Fucking hella highlighters, my people. Hella highlighters. Tombows. So this is my full set of Tombows. If you can't see, Odin, no, was this Lulu? This was Lulu, I think. Lulu took a chomp out of some of them, but this is the entire collection minus, what is this one? This one is probably this one, I think, $4.91. Yeah, because I keep these in order so that they're easy to reference. I have a little swatch book I created of all my, well, not all of my markers, but of a lot of my markers. Let's put you back here for now. But this is my full set of like active Tombows right here. And I keep them like this because it's really easy to find the color that you want. If you have the full collection, it's really easy to find the color that you want if you keep this set organized like this. However, between getting sets in swag or through VIP boxes, or other times where I've like previous Tombows I've owned before I had the whole collection. I also have a massive bucket of backups. So I have enough Tombows to last me the whole fucking year and then some. So I just thought you should know that. If you catch me buying any Tombow markers, unless, again, they come out with new colors and you'd like me to review them, but it took them 80 years to come out with the new colors that they went from, was 96 to 108. I remember being floored when they came out with new colors, so I don't anticipate that this year. But if they do come out, then we'll see. I guess next we'll look at these because they're close to hand. So I remember mentioning that when I was going through my Pit Artist pens in the pen video that I do have the brush pens. I actually have all of the colors of the brush pens because I use the shit out of these. And I have them divided into these two buckets. These are cool colors and these are warm colors. But as you can see, again, like the Tombows, I have the whole collection of them, but I also have extras of some of them that I have just gotten through like sampler packs and things like that. These are the warm colors. These are all brush pens, and I do love these pens. But I have all the colors one could possibly want. Now, if I run out of any of the colors of either these or the Tombows over the course of the year, this is something, I'm not going to buy them because I have other markers that will suffice. But for the sake of next year, I'm going to make a note of the colors I'm completely out of so that if I do put an order in at some point in another year, then I know which ones to order. Here are the cool colors. Of the two buckets, this is my favorite bucket. I especially prefer the cooler grays over the warmer grays, but I also love the greens. I think that Faber-Castell's green selection is just so pretty, especially if you like to do any sort of botanical illustration. The Faber-Castell's green selection, I prefer for that over the Tombows. Before I start going into some more like fine line markers, I've got this random bucket as well. What this one has is a bunch of like Sharpie, they're flip chart pens, like poster pens that I do use occasionally. So these are actually meant to be just big markers for big occurrences. And then I have an extra dry erase marker, which I will put in that other bucket. And then I have these two random markers that never seem to find a home, but they're both black. One is this Winsor & Newton watercolor marker that has a brush tip on one side and a bullet tip on the other, and the other is this gigantic big brush Pit Artist pen black that I've used the shit out of. If you can tell, the tip is extremely janky now. But I'm just going to keep them in there because I know where they are if I ever need them. I don't know if I'll ever need them, but if I do need them, I know where they are. Here are a couple of sets of fine line markers. We have the Tombow Twin Tone and the Zebra Click Art pens. So the Tombow Twin Tones I have really enjoyed, and these are actually one that I would love to do in Hot Mess plan with me with just these. I've done that before. I love these, and the reason I did not categorize these with like the Papermate flares is because of the marker tip on the other end. They have a fine line tip and they have a marker tip. I love the colors on these. And I remember when I used to have the Erin Condren ones, one of the things that made the Tombows better for me than the Erin Condren ones was that the Tombows had more usable colors when it came to writing. A lot of the Erin Condren colors were really pale. And then these are the Zebra Click Arts. These are also a nice... Ooh, let's get that out of there. These are also a really nice markery kind of like step above fine liner, like a marker pen, with great colors, and they click, and the clicking just makes them so handy to use. If you like writing with an ultra thick, but not like a brush pen, but like just a thicker marker, these are great for that, and the colors are really gorgeous. This is another set I would love to do like a pen only plan with me with, because these are just so much fun to write with. They're not delicate by any means, but they are really fun to write with. Paint pens. So we've already looked at the white and the black ones that I keep next to my desk. These are the other paint pens that I have. So these are the Archer and Olive acrylograph pens, and they are, I don't think I have any of the fat ones. I think these are all the 7mm ones. They're not something I utterly love, but I do really like the color selection and the tip size on these 7mm ones. These are the ones I actually love, the woodcraft markers, but they're also chisel tips, so they're a lot bigger. I don't use these in like my planner world a lot. I use these more when I've done like side work, like commissioned work for people on like chalkboards. But I've got woodcraft, I've got some Posca pens, I've got some Sharpie oil-based pens in here. I don't know if I have any Sharpie water-based pens. I think they're all oil-based pens in here. But I've used both. But yeah, so a bunch of paint pens. These are not something I tend to overbuy on because I only use them when I need to. If I do pick up a commissioned job sometime this year where I need a color that I don't have of one of these, then I will probably buy that because it's a commissioned job. But usually the colors I need for doing work on chalkboards or mirrors are usually white. And so if I run out of white, I'll need them. But, you know, I don't anticipate that happening. If you're in the planner world, you're no stranger to these. These are the Crayola Super Tips. I don't use these very often. The reason I still have them all, and they're not even organized by specific color, they're just in 2 bins because there's so many of them. It's all of them, I'm pretty sure. I bought them so I could swatch them for a video, but the reason I hang on to them mostly is, again, for comparison's sake, because when I have reviewed markers and highlighters, because these are such an inexpensive option, it is really handy to have them to say, okay, well, if you want those new mild liners, well, if you have the super tips, these colors are the same colors, so you don't need them. The biggest issue I run in with these is that they're not labeled, and I know there's people who do label them, but that's a lot of fucking work for me. And the cap colors don't really match the marker color in a lot of cases, so that can make it difficult. But really, I may wind up using these for fun shit this year, but the biggest reason I keep these is for comparison. We've got these guys, which are the Zig Clean Color brush pens. So they're from the same family as the dot pens, but these are the real brush pens. So the brushes have like bristles. When I first got these, I got frustrated because they were really hard to letter with because they're real brush pens. But as the years have gone on, I have discovered I actually really like them specifically for coloring, not for lettering. So that's what these are for. They don't see a lot of use. I like them to see more use. I don't think that's going to be something they'll see in my planners as much as in my art practice. So this may not be all of my metallic brush pens or markers, but this is plenty of them, I think, from what I can find so far. I actually got these guys from the Scrapbook Expo when I went there to teach a class with the West Coast Planners a few years back. These are the Nuvo glitter markers. They're smooth flowing glitter pens. These are really nice. Like, these are really nice. And I think I might want to remember that these exist, especially for one little word. I've got a bunch of colors here, though, and they're very, very pretty. So from the same Scrapbook Expo, got these guys. These probably could have gone in art supplies, but there's going to be plenty in that video, too. These are the Nuvo, what are they? Aqua Flow. And these are also, these are like some, yeah, these probably should have gone in art supplies because I've got another product that's similar to these, but whatever. So these are the Aqua Flow from Nuvo, and these are also really nice. They're a little unwieldy to control, but they're a lot of fun to create accents with. And then this satchel here, this Ziploc bag, is just a bunch of metallic brush pens and other metallic brush pens and another random Winsor & Newton marker. Maybe what I'll do is I'll grab that other Winsor & Newton marker and throw that in this bag as well. So we've got a few non-brush pens here, these Sharpie gold and silver. But the rest of these are brush pens. There's the Staw metallic brush pens, the Kelly Creates metallic brush pens from Michaels. There's the metallic brush pens and then the metallic bullet tip pens Kelly Creates. And I really love these. These are really gorgeous. Now we're finally really diving into brush pens. I will also add, I have an entire bin in my closet of other brush pens and shit that I'm not counting in this video because the only reason I still have them and haven't given them away is because I do want to eventually do a brush pen Thunderdome where I do a big live comparison, but I haven't had the energy or the time to research that. I don't intend to keep those. None of those are ones I want to keep in my collection. I just have them for the sake of this video I am planning, so I am just keeping those in the bin because they don't even come out of the bin. They're not even in my storage. They're in like my closet. So, but anyway, these are brush pens I do like. These are the Karen markers, the water-based Brush Pen Pro. I have not spent enough time with these. I bought them a couple years ago and really want to just like explore them. I have used them, but I have not used them as much as I would like to, so that is something I want to remind myself about. These E. coli markers, on the other hand, I have used the shit out of, and I love them. In the art supplies video, you'll see that I also have the E. coli liquid watercolors. These colors are just so vibrant and juicy and beautiful, and they blend out with water so nicely. These are probably my favorite watercolor style markers that I have. Then there's these ones, which are the Koi coloring brush pens. These ones I find to be probably the most comparable to Tombow's. And the reason I like these is in case there's a color here that I don't have a good equivalent of for the Tombow's. I also like using these for lettering practice because I like the brush on them. But these are ones that easily get forgotten because I have the Tombow's and the Pitt Artist pens. So if I don't use these throughout this year, these ones might be one I give away despite the fact that I really like them because they're just sitting in a drawer. And I don't know if I'm actually going to use them or not. These are also Zig. These are the Zig Brushables. And a Kelly Creates white moonlight marker that must have just gotten put in here because there was nowhere else to put it. I really like these Zig Brushables. They are awesome because they're double-ended, but instead of a lot of dual tip markers where it's the same color with two different size tips, these markers actually have two different colors on the end of them. So, and the colors go nice together. So like, for example, this one, which I think is almost dead, is fawn, and on one end it has the light brown, and then on the other end it has an even lighter brown. So it has two colors that with them you could add like a shadow or something. Like it's nice and it's convenient to have a set of brush markers where you have 12 markers but 24 colors. I just really like those. These are, I think, all Pentel brush, the Fude brush sign pens. And I've just got them in all the different colors that I have gotten my hands on. They're small brush. They're not my favorite small brush to letter with, but the color selection of the small brush pens is probably my favorite. So I've got a ton of those. And then the one that is my favorite is in here, among others. I really, really love the Tombow Fude small brush tips, both the soft and the hard. And so not only do I have some of the black ones, but I also have the colors in here of the Tombow Fude. I also have a bunch of the Kelly Creates small brush pens, which I also really, really like. I think that they are super comfortable to letter with. A few other random ones in here. Jane Davenport's little black brush pens. These guys here, these are great for drawing. I don't like them as much for lettering. There's the Pentel Sign Artist pens. These are the ones that have like long, thin bristles. These are also good for coloring, not as good for lettering. But everything in this bin, with the exception of these Pentel ones, which I think are just in this bin because they don't fit in the other one, all of the brush pens in here are pens I do really enjoy. This one here, the Tombow one with both sides on it, there's a gray side and then a gray brush pen. I love them. I love them so much. And then there's one other little pile of pens I've got, and these are not brush pens, but they are like thick black drawing markers. So they're very, very thick. I did not count these in the pen video because I felt like these kind of go more with a drawing marker than a drawing pen. And so these ones are all black, and I'm just keeping them in a bag in there because I don't use these very often, but I do like to have them because once in a while I will want a marker like this. And that is all of my markers that I could find. There may be more in here that I haven't found yet, but for the most part, I think that's all of them. And it's plenty. Unlike the other categories where I have high hopes of using up a bunch of them, this is one of those categories I don't anticipate burning through a lot of. I think what may wind up happening is at the end of the year, I'll have a better idea of maybe some of these I might declutter and give away. Although a lot of them, I like to have because I like to have them for reference for other videos, so that might not happen. I think my biggest chance of using pens up is going to come in the Tombow category, the dot markers, and the mild liners categories. And with all of those, I have things to use if I run out of them. But with all of those, I will also probably make a list of the items that I ran out of that I'm using an alternative in the meantime, so that at the end of the year when the no buy is over, if the alternative has not made me as happy as the original, then I can buy those and know what I'm missing. But we'll know if I've missed them by the end of the year if I run out. Anyway, I'd love to hear from you in the comments below. What is if you like to practice with brush pens, or if you like to draw with markers, or if you like to color with markers or highlighters, what is your favorite marker brand or your favorite kind of marker? It could be a highlighter, it could be a dot pen, it could be a brush pen, it could be whatever. You just saw the markers I have. What's your favorite marker? For me, currently, if I looked at all of this and thought to myself, what is my absolute favorite? I would say for actual just usage of a fun marker, I really, really love the Ecoline watercolor markers. But for actual practical day-to-day usage, it would probably be the mild liners and the Zig dot markers, because those are what I use every day. Anyway, thank you so much for watching. I will see you in my next collection video. We are getting to the art supplies in the next one, so I'll see you then. Thank you so much, and peace out.